This is a video for all of you high achievers, productive people, motivated people, people who get shit done, and yet you still feel unfulfilled, unsatisfied, or maybe you feel like you've hit a plateau in your life. This video is for you. Let's talk about it. So what's going on? People are wondering what the hell I'm doing. They're looking, who's that guy with the camera? When you're suffering from a plateau, or in general, there might be an area of your life where things are actually going pretty well, but yet you feel some sort of lack of satisfaction. You feel unfulfilled in that area, or maybe you start demanding that you get better results in that area of your life, and it's not happening. Therefore, you're feeling unfulfilled. And you might even have people around you, people who are close to you personally, or possibly colleagues who are saying, why are you upset about this? It's actually going pretty well. My own story about this, which is how I came to make this video. I started out working on a video about procrastination. What I found was that I was actually procrastinating, but in a very strange way. I could show you my work all the time. Like, I could show you how much I work in a day and the results that I get. So I'm both busy, I'm productive, I don't procrastinate in the typical sense, and I have lots of work to show for it. I have lots of proof and evidence if anybody ever called me out on procrastinating. But what I started to realize as I thought about my channel and these videos that I make, I have created a kind of a system, and it's not complete autopilot because I actually have to sit down and shoot these videos, but it was pretty close to autopilot. I had a certain amount of videos I needed to shoot in one time. I would sit down, I would write out what I wanted to talk about, and then I'm looking at my numbers and my subscribers and my views, which has gone up consistently over the years, so I should be happy about that, but I'm not. And so I started looking at, well, are the thumbnails not catchy enough, or are the keywords that I'm using not good enough? And we made improvements to all of those things. I didn't stop to look at, well, what am I really doing here? And the truth is that what I've been doing is I've been putting out decent videos, but I haven't really been uncomfortable for quite some time. I haven't really challenged myself to make the kind of videos that are better than what I have been making. I've just felt like, well, I have this thing dialed in, I have it down. Why are we not growing in the way that I want to grow? Why am I feeling unfulfilled? And it was that lack of fulfillment that was really about not stepping up and making even better videos. So in a sense, I was really procrastinating on stepping up my game and doing better. There's this thing inside of you that's not going to want you to disrupt something that is running smoothly, that seems to be running well. If you have that well-oiled machine that you've worked for so long to put it together, the last thing you want to do is take that thing apart and say, how can I put it back together in a better way? Because what if I make it worse? And what about all the trouble that I have to go through and the time? But this is really what's calling you. You might have close associates and friends who might try to talk you out of that. Why take a risk on this? Why mess up something that seems to be working really well? And in most cases, I would agree with that and say, don't mess up something that's working really well. But if you're unfulfilled by it, if you feel like you've plateaued in that area, it's time to do something different. It's time to challenge yourself. It's time to get uncomfortable again. I could totally just sit here and try to give you a pep talk and say, you gotta smash through that barrier. You gotta smash through that plateau. And I could run around and yell and scream and tell you all these things to get you all pumped up. But you know that's not the answer to this. Think about all the things that you do instead of just facing the most uncomfortable thing that you have to face, which is when you're in that plateau, it's not because you lack motivation. It's not because you need to go to another seminar or something where they can pump you up. And it's not because you need to watch a bunch of motivational videos to get you all worked up again. And I hear people saying things like, well, I gotta wait until, I want to wait to do this thing until I'm in a more positive state or something like that. And it's like, no, then if you're waiting around for that kind of thing, it never comes. And when it does come, it's usually like you want to go do something else because you don't want to go do the uncomfortable thing that you know needs to get done. So when it comes to like whether or not to do this, just know that it's not going to get any easier or any less uncomfortable by waiting. And I have this discussion with a lot of people who they tell me they want to start, say, a YouTube channel, they want to start some sort of project, and they've been researching it for like a year and a half, and it's like, no, you are in fact procrastinating. And that's the kind of typical procrastination that, you know, we run into. But when it comes to high achievers, when it comes to people who are performing well, who are successful, this can really sneak up on you. There was a study done on procrastination, and what they did is they followed college students who would procrastinate, college students who wouldn't procrastinate. And what they learned is that when you procrastinate, actually it does relieve stress. And so that relieving of stress feels good, obviously. And so you think, well, I'm doing something right here. Like I'm doing something that's probably healthy and good for me. And there is a certain amount of truth to that. And so it's very seductive. And then you kind of get sucked into that. But what they also learned in the study is that short-term relief of stress is very short-lived. Actually, the stress that same person must endure later when they either have to scramble at the last minute to meet a deadline, or they miss the deadline and there's a lot of stress that comes from that. The stress that comes later is much more intense, much more devastating, and can even cause illness. So that temporary relief of stress up front, but putting it off to something later, actually is going to create more stress. And understanding that, you can say to yourself, okay, I understand that what this procrastination is about, instead of resisting it, instead of fighting it, and then say, okay, well, how do I really fulfill this long term rather than let me give it a short term fix? Well, now you're not procrastinating anymore. You're facing the problem and you're saying, okay, what can I do about this? It may get stressful as you think about all the disruptive things you could do to improve whatever it is you're trying to improve. But you can understand then, though, that stress that you're enduring as you think about the disruptions, and as you go through those disruptions that you're implementing so that you can step up to a whole new level, you can rest assured in that even though there's some stress, and not all stress is bad, that you are actually relieving yourself of stress long term, because when you do step up to a higher level, it's very fulfilling, and that stress will go away and it will be replaced by feelings of satisfaction and fulfillment. These past few weeks have been a lot of soul searching and a lot of conversations in my head, and some of the conversations I've even written out in journals, and that is, what if I decide to put more into these videos and make them better and change things up and do things differently, get out of my comfort zone, get out of what's familiar. And I go through all that, it doesn't feel good and it doesn't pay off at the same time. Like it doesn't increase the rate at which I'm growing subscribers and views. That was another point of resistance. Like, well, yeah, that would really suck if I did all that and I went through that stress and that disruption and it didn't pay off. And I thought, okay, well, why am I really doing this though? Am I really doing this for subscribers and views? And I had to go back to like why I originally started doing these videos. And is that the same reason I still do this? It was deeply satisfying to make these videos and then share them. As I've gotten better at it, and believe me, I've come a long way because these videos used to be pretty bad, it became more fulfilling and more satisfying until I find myself where I'm at right now. And what I realize is that if I put more into these videos and I make them even better, that is going to be more rewarding, more satisfying, and more fulfilling. That was my answer there. Putting more into this, the reward for it, the fulfillment from it, is actually the work itself. That I can make a video and be happy about it and satisfied about it because it's better than the video I did before. And it might not always come out better. I might have, it's still going to be a learning process, but learning is very rewarding and fulfilling as well. And so I can't lose in this process. So what I recommend, if you're dealing with a plateau, first, chunk it down to what area of your life are you feeling unfulfilled. A lot of times people will just think, well, I'm feeling unfulfilled or I'm unsatisfied with life. Chances are you're probably not unfulfilled and unsatisfied with every single area of your life. When you think about it like that, it seems so huge. It's like, I don't know, you wouldn't even know where to even start. So I'm telling you, the place to start is to identify a particular area of your life that you feel unfulfilled and unsatisfied in. And there could be more than one. And it would be good to do this process with every single area of your life that you're unfulfilled with. I know a lot of people are unfulfilled with their careers. Even people who are very successful are unfulfilled with their careers. So maybe that's where it's at for you. As much as we like to think that it's about we're not making enough money or we're not feeling enough appreciation in our careers, that's not really what it's about, I assure you. It's about something else. Now, of course, you need to make enough money, and we do want to make money, and we do want to be appreciated. So all those things are important. But when you're feeling unsatisfied or unfulfilled in a certain area of your life, it's almost always about something much deeper than that external stuff like attention and appreciation and money. Once you've identified that area of your life that you feel unfulfilled or unsatisfied with, ask yourself, what assumptions are you making that are keeping things the way that they are? Now, this is where it starts to get real. This is where it starts to get a little confrontational with yourself, because up until this point, your assumptions were probably more outwardly focused, like things that you can't change, because if you thought that you could change them, you would have changed them already. The really dangerous ones, or the ones that you think you can't change because they're just sort of unconscious assumptions about how these things are. And so to use my own example, my assumptions were the thumbnails aren't good enough. That's why people aren't clicking on my videos enough. My assumption was we didn't find the best keyword, and that's why people aren't finding my video. After I examined those assumptions, that's when I finally came to that realization. Well, it's like, yeah, those things, there might be some truth to those assumptions, but what do I really have control over then? What do I have more control over than anything else? And that is my ability to step up and do something different. You're going to examine your assumptions about the area that you've plateaued in, and what you're going to see is that it's outwardly focused. It's kind of like you're blaming other things because you feel like you don't have control. And if you did, you would have, like I said, made the change already. So write down those assumptions. What are the assumptions that you're making about your situation that holds everything in place to where it's not where you want it to be? Are these assumptions really true? Again, this is where it gets really real, and you're confronting this and you have to face this. Are these assumptions actually true? What can you actually do different so that you're not at the mercy of those assumptions? Now, the next important thing that you need to do here is to understand what is really the value of this area of your life. What is the value of what it is that you want in this area of your life? I talk a lot about values because I find that this is one of the biggest problems that people have in getting what they want. They're just not clear enough about it. They're not clear enough about what they value about it. So a values elicitation can be done at any time in this process. It always helps to clarify what it is that you really want out of this situation. So I highly recommend you do a values elicitation. If you're not familiar with that process, I'll link a PDF in the description right here down below. Your values are really what leads to your fulfillment in a certain area, because it's only through fulfilling your values that you experience fulfillment. When your values go unfulfilled, that's where you get that lack of satisfaction. So you have to know what those are in this particular area. How can you challenge yourself to do something different? There's always going to be that part of you that's going to be like, well, God, we have this thing kind of figured out. We kind of got it running smooth, and you're familiar with how you do it. And there's going to be that part of you that really wants to move you back toward that comfort zone. And comfort is another value, and we need a certain amount of comfort. Okay, so it's not to try to eliminate all comfort, but if it's getting in the way of you fulfilling those higher values, then it's worth it for you to move in the direction of fulfilling those values, which means you're going to have to get uncomfortable again. You're going to have to challenge yourself. But understand that if you're unfulfilled now, staying here is just going to lead to more and more unfulfillment, more and more, or more of a lack of satisfaction. It's just like that study about the procrastination. Sure, you can relieve the stress now, but later it's going to be much worse. Understand that long term, if you just sit in a situation and you tell yourself you're just going to wait for things to get better, that's probably not going to happen. The pressure is going to intensify. The lack of fulfillment is going to intensify. Challenge yourself now and start moving yourself in that direction. And just understand that what this is about for you is not about those sort of external looking improvements or validations. Like for me with the more subscribers, more views, it's something much more personal than that. It is about you going deep into yourself and doing something that deeply satisfies you and deeply fulfills you. Do you have the time to do that? Absolutely. What else do you have time to do other than to focus on your own fulfillment? And so if you've plateaued in an area of your life, it is absolutely worth taking the time to do this, disrupt things, get out of your comfort zone, take this to the next level so that you can destabilize things at the level that you're at so you can restabilize at a higher level.